Hey guys, it's Krystal Lucier here, also known as your home sweet home 519 realtor, Krystal Lemore. This is Realtor Life. And guys, we're in for a treat today. We have Ron James as our guest, and Ron and I go way back to when he was my coach, and we're going to share some fun antics about that. Um, but we're just so happy you're here. It's a great time to be talking to a professional like Ron, who has been a realtor for many moons, and we're going to let him share that. So, Ron, welcome to the show.
My absolute pleasure to be here, KLM. This is quite an honor, as you can tell by the smile on my face, right? From where we've come from to where we are, this is like the best graduation ever.
It's funny. So, right before we got on, we did our traditional photo, and Ron was remembering. So way back when I was a new coaching client for Ron, and I had come from a world where my coaching was on the phone. And Ron didn't know. I'm going to tell you, I don't know if you know the background of this. So Ron was like, "We're going to meet on Zoom." And this was like pre-COVID, guys. So this was the time when, and I love Zoom now, but as much as I love it now, I still remember the first time someone asked me if I would rather meet on Zoom for a coffee. Ron, I was offended. I was like, if you don't have time in your day to really meet with me, you know what? Let's just wait till you have time. I'm not going to meet with you on your computer. And then,
Ta-da!
yeah, here we are. So let's reminisce for a second because we're gonna do one reminisce and then I want to hear about what you're doing right now. The first time we were supposed to meet, what was your impression?
Oh my God. I uh, meeting you. Well, let's call a spade a spade. You're a pretty intense woman, and you, it's interesting if somebody was measuring you just by the tonality of your voice, they'd be like, she's an airhead. Until they get to know you and realize, like, quite the opposite, like more PhD than pinhead. And I've come to have that situation. And truthfully, some of my very best friends, including you, started with, oh my God, I hate Ron James. I hate this guy. I don't like this guy. And now it's just a big love in.
It's funny. I didn't hate you. I was just like, who does this guy think he is? I'm the paying customer. And very soon after that, we had our initial interaction. Then I went off and I got married, did some regrouping.
Hi, Brett.
Very happy with my decision to marry Brett and but some regrouping and I'm like, okay, if this is going to work, it's got to work. So I looked at the dollars and cents. I looked at what I was paying for coaching and I got on the call. So this is the second time I'm talking to Ron, or maybe the third time, and I say, Ron, here's the deal. I am going to need each of these calls to give me a value of, I think, 212.50.
212.50. That's exactly it. And that was the third thing. It was first one was the calls had to be 30 minutes, not 60, just because I'm long-winded. The second one was that you needed an agenda. And the third one was that each call had to be worth at least $212.50. And because I've been married so many times, I just said yes to women. It's easier. And we started there.
And you far surpassed that on every call. But yeah, thank you for sticking with me because when I look back, I was like, oh, it was 10 years ago. And I'm just like, today me is going back and going, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started as a coach, obviously Ron James Real Estate Coaching. What's been going on? What's happening with you?
Yeah. At some point, you start to kind of look at niche, whether it's inside your profession, like real estate. You kind of realize that I have a specialty with buyers or sellers or lakefront or, elderly people or whatever the case may be. And from my side, coaching was something that I evolved to. I had always done it kind of in my brokerage with people, etc. And then I just formalized it. So when you were sourcing coaching, and interesting, especially as a new coach, to work with someone like yourself who had come with a pedigree in coaching. You had been with the Buffini organization a very long time.
Yeah.
And not only were you a client, you were a coach. You were a Buffini coach. So the bar was definitely much higher, interacting with you and is there value in what I have to share with you. Uh, there was a dedicated program that we utilized pieces that fit for you, but
Yeah.
for the most part, we customize it. We built it together on what was going to work for you best. So, I think my greatest gift in coaching is what I learn from the clients. Like
Yes.
they've taught me more about my level of communication. Like I can have a great idea, I can have the best idea, but if I can't articulate it and show you how it can be applicable to you and your business, it doesn't matter what I know.
For sure.
Um, yeah, coaching. I've worked with two of the kind of name brand organizations in Canada. Now I'm on my own
Very
and have my own shingle out. We can see it
love
there.
it. Ron James Real
Ron
Estate
James,
Coaching.
that'd be me. And it's a different approach. Having been inside organized coaching with contracts and with, there is a curriculum, etc. Um, it's not a one size fits all. It definitely is something that you need to customize for you to get the best value out of.
Yeah.
And, for me, what I've learned is although we have a prescription, we have, this is, here's step one, here's step next, et cetera, et cetera. At this point, if I come on a call and you're having a shitty day, whether it's because of business, usually because of business, right, or family or certain,
Yeah.
personal circumstance, me saying we're on step 17.
It might not. Yeah. Meet
Yeah,
them where they're at. Absolutely.
you have to
Absolutely.
know, hey, how we doing? How's the wind where you are? On the
Yes.
scale of 1 to 10, what's the day starting? If it's a three,
Yeah.
all the technique about real estate or selling houses or whatever goes out the window. Let's regroup. Let's kind of get you centered, you
Yeah.
better, you functional, and then we can go back into the learning mode. So that
Yeah.
these were the takeaways that I came away with that it you need to be able to pivot with the client.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I find too, like it's such a huge thing. So like as much as I do mentoring, and a lot of free coaching, but I've not had a situation where anyone has paid me to
beta,
coach yet.
beta coaching. We call
Beta,
free
there you go.
coaching beta coaching.
Beta coach. I'm quite the beta coach. Um, but what I find is that there's so much more, like I think I have a lot to share, but getting people to keep coming back to the table, stay motivated, do what they said they would do. These are like sometimes it's like pulling teeth. So like every time I try to help people and it kind of I'm frustrated because for whatever reason, like this comes up, that comes up, so many excuses. And I'm just like, I have so much more like gratitude and respect for what you do and what you did for me, but also what you do all the time because that's like a few people. Like that's like a small part of my day, not what I've kind of hung my hat on. And people keep coming back to you, right? So it's just I think that there's an extra, you could be good at helping and training and guiding, but there's an extra like that patience and the way you explain things. Like it's a gift. And I hope that you know what a huge gift it is.
Wow, thank you. Honored, humbled at that point. Well, and when I look back, um, you taught me a number of lessons. I had a prescription. I had not only a dedicated program from the coaching company I represented,
Yeah.
um, but my own experience and other tools that I've built, etc. And I remember us, getting to loggerheads where it's like, that's not going to work. I don't want to hear it. Just shut up. And the male me, the old male me, wants to kind of go, listen, Missy Mew, let me show you how it's going to be. And it's like, okay, so what's that going to accomplish, right? She if she didn't hate me before, she really hates me now. And it challenged me as a coach to kind of go, okay, this I'm stepping on her toe. She's kind of going, ow, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Stop that. And I'm still stepping on her toe. So it really, I reflect now, especially with the clients that I work with today at this point, to look back when they push back hard, when they're a solid no, or when there's, chronic excuses for work that we've talked about or homework that was supposed to be done and delivered, it was never done. I look at this and gonna go, you're not a school child. Like you didn't, the dog ate your homework. Okay, the dog ate your homework. It
Yeah.
obviously wasn't important to you or important
Yeah.
enough for you to deliver it. So if I beat you over the head with it, it's not gonna make it any better.
Or why
Let's go.
didn't you do it? Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So, and in dedicated programs where they need people to kind of go, step 15, step 16, 17
Yeah.
at this point, how come they're not at step 17? Well, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Like we have to fix this before we can fix that. And truthfully, like I said, the benefit that I bring to coaching is working with people that make a living doing what these other people want to do.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm going to reflect for a second. I sent you something that was pretty much, shadow puppets of an agenda, right? How many calls, how many door knocks, how many blah, blah, blah. And you said you took this information and went, do I have to use this? Can I tweak it? Well, what do you mean? Why are you asking me? Because you know you're gonna. Well, the alliterations of that coming to life, there must have been a dozen before we had the KLM business minutes. Today, still the Cadillac in my catalog of what a good coaching call preamble
Yeah.
needs to be. If you want to stay on point, if you want to stay on task. And as you had mentioned, the important point of this was through my week between coaching sessions, stuff comes up. I put it in those business minutes because I need to address it. I need
Yeah.
to flush it out. I need to understand it, investigate it, or get help to pull it apart.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I saw the last generation of it, the one that you worked with the most at this point, when I show people today, they're like, this is freaking 17 pages long. How much time does this chick have to do this shit? It's kind of like she built it in a system where she just needed to kind of whiteboard a few things.
Yeah.
Like it still was a structure that was built. She just needed to make the tweaks week by week by week. And they're like, oh, we'll never get to that level. And then as they kind of coach through with me, they start to kind of go, I get now why Krystal had so much information on her business minutes.
Yeah.
She was giving you the entire digital dashboard of how her business is functioning.
And what's
And
nice though, did you notice? So, what I found about that, and if anyone's not sure what we're talking about, so one of the things when I coached with Ron, I would send him an update. And that update, for us, I'd send it before our call. I now create this for Mondays. It's my Monday update, and it's 7 pages long. Um, but I still do it. And the reason I do it, so yes, it was helpful for the coach, for Ron to see it, and then we could talk about it. But way more than that, it made me feel like I owned a business. And I had my eye on everything, and I knew my numbers, and I knew my clients, and I knew my, like, how am I getting towards these goals? I had 4 goals. What's going on? What do I have to focus on this week? Because oftentimes what happens as realtors, and I mean, our audience is made up of entrepreneurs and realtors. What happens is when you're slow, you're going to make charts and books and pamphlets, and then you get busy and it all goes down the drain and you have no idea what's going on or how many, like, I mean, most people know how many closings they have coming up, but that's one part of it. There's so much that goes into the rest, right? So I've evolved a little bit where I don't kind of screenshot that I should still screenshot the numbers, but I don't screenshot the numbers as much. Um, but I'm actually in the middle of changing it again because I'm finding I want it to be more concise. Um, and I don't like redundancy. So we started using Monday.com, which is handy for my team. And Monday.com is cool, but everyone has to use it, and you can follow it down a vampire time warp if you're not careful. Um, okay, so Ron, let's talk really quickly. We talked about you've been in business for a while. Why don't you talk to us about, because I mean, this is ultimately, if you're looking like eventually to be a coach, don't do it as a new realtor because you might have lots of coaching skills, but you don't have the experience. Ron has some kick-ass experience. So why don't you bring us back to young Ron? And did you publish your book yet?
I have one that's published, and then one was an online book.
Okay.
And if people are interested in the one that I have published,
Yeah.
I have that in a PDF and an audio version. Now, that's the business of being in business. So it's
Okay.
not going to be, say this when they say that. It's
Yes.
about you're a realtor, you're a professional, you're running a business.
Yeah.
Do you know how to run the business? Not how to be a real estate agent, not how to be a practitioner, how to run the business, pay your taxes, set up your accounts, do that. You
Great
know,
idea.
the boring shit of being in business. That's the book I wrote, and I did it with somebody who was a bookkeeper company.
Nice.
He had built this and did the books for a lot of different organizations and entrepreneurs at this point, and we collaborated on that book because there isn't anything that teaches realtors how to set up a business.
Well, there is now.
Well, well, it's a 2008 book, so I still reference things like BlackBerry in the book.
Ah,
But here's the cool part. Here's the gift for people that are interested, right?
yes.
I will gladly give them a copy of the book for free. Yep, absolutely. Audio
Also
book
Oprah.
or yes, audio book or a PDF version of the book, right? They reach out to you, you reach out to me, and I will
Yeah,
send them
I will
a copy
connect
of
you.
the book. Yeah,
That sounds
absolutely.
amazing. Now, what's the second book?
Second book is called Opening Doors, and that is an online book that I wrote during COVID, which was my first year in real estate. And it talks about the stories of being 21 years old. People in my office, it could have been my parents or young grandparents.
Yeah.
Like I was the youngest by 20 years in my office, and fortunate in the book, that book, Opening Doors is what it's called. I had a man that had started just a couple of months ahead of me, and he
Nice.
was ten years my senior. So he was like my big brother mentor
Yeah.
in the real estate business, and he had sold wood products over the phone for 10 years. So he had closing techniques, he had
Yeah.
language, he had some stuff. And I was attached to his hip. Like I didn't know anything. I had never bought a house. I'm 21 years old. Like everybody that I know is still in university.
And
So
this is in Oakville, right?
no, it was in Brampton. That
In
was my
Brampton.
hometown.
Okay.
I grew up from the time I started high school. I was in Bramalea/Brampton,
Nice.
and it worked out that actually the broker of record. It turned out that I had gone to school with his daughter, and this was a very predominant West Indian, East Indian real estate office. So myself and Brian, the guy who was my older brother,
Yeah.
Scott Simpson in the book called Opening Doors. That's
Yeah.
what I've renamed him.
Nice.
And like I said, it was he and I. But man, oh man, I was the most ballsy person ever in there.
Have
Like,
to be, right? That's the
well,
thing. You want that confidence, especially as a 21-year-old man. Like that's the stuff if you could bottle it.
yeah, absolutely. And this is the week. Like, I started 44 years ago, 43 years ago, pardon me,
Amazing.
43 years ago, this past Monday.
So cool.
And it was a Monday as well because my first day was at the office meeting where you had to
Yeah.
come in and my gold jacket because I was C21 and my tie
Yeah.
and my shiny shoes and black pants and my gold jacket. And I didn't, everything was new to me.
Yeah.
We didn't have offices. You turned your chairs around like a fireside circle, and the broker stood in the middle and told everybody how it was. We went on things like Caravan. For those that don't know what it is, it's all the realtors get in their car or carpool to the
Yeah.
all of the inventory, all of the new listings that have come up over the last week or so, and we go see them. My very first house that I had toured as a caravan property. Um, uh, I'm talking to this mentor guy, Brian, and all of a sudden we hear screaming and screeches from the women in the line,
Uh-oh.
and it's that blur sensation. Four cats left the house. The listing agent wasn't with us. She was
Uh-oh.
off sick, and so it was just a lockbox, old school lockboxes. And somebody opened the door. Nobody told anybody about cats, and four of them booked it out. So here's all these gold jackets running around the neighborhood in March 10th, 1982, right, trying to look for cats.
Oh my
So we
goodness.
finished the rest of the tour, and we get back to the office, and we can hear the broker of record, a gentleman from Trinidad. He's on the phone, and somebody is definitely reaming him out at this point. And he puts the phone down. And he goes, "Hey, did you guys go show 123 Andy Street?" "Yeah, first house." They said, "Was there cats?" We said, "Well, they got out." And we ran around as an office and we put four cats back in the house. And he said, "Oh, I know." He said, "None of the four cats that are in that house belong to that house." And they trashed it. Drapes, furniture, shredded. Like we had an insurance claim because we put the four wrong cats back in the house. Real estate. If you're selling
Real
with a pet,
estate. So yeah, it's I that wow. That's
day
terrifying.
one, that was my actually, it was so we have that. This is my first day. So we're chasing cats and we put the wrong cats in, find out about, ooh, that's not what you're supposed to do. And then we went for lunch and then I came back and this is what they made me do.
Uh-oh.
They gave me foolscap. For those that don't know, it's the long paper at this point. And they gave me a scenario, and I had to create an offer on every clause. So there's standard, there's 28 clauses in an offer. I had to write out all 28 clauses plus make up the clauses in the offer. Today, it's all kind of like click and point and move and cut and
I
paste, and
don't
away you
think
go.
that if you got a group of 5,000 realtors together that they could come up with 28 flawless clauses, but
Yep. Yep.
different time.
Different time.
That's
And that
very
was that was the exam. That was the whole week, Krystal. I did that after every lunch for that first week. Like this would
yeah.
have been the same week, right? That was my homework was to sit down and write out an offer. Everything, not just the guts and the stuff that you need to put
Yeah.
in, but the whole offer, so that I understood what the clauses were.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and
People.
that's important, right? Because like if you think about like so I when I came in, I became a realtor in 2011. And so it was just getting out of like the triple carbon copy paper and we were like I think I sent a photo of a confirmation um using the worst camera on the in the world on my BlackBerry. And it was blurry and like you really had to trust me that that's what it was. Like I'm like, here's the notice. Um, versus now where it's like we're in this, right? So it speeds up on what you can do. But as far as caravans go, like for anyone that doesn't go on caravans, that cat story is very unique. It's not going to happen to you. Don't let pets out if you can, but also we have caravan here in London and in Guelph before COVID they had a pretty cool caravan and you just knew my struggle here post COVID and even before COVID is that it's not as clear. Like it's a bigger city, so it's not as clear. In Guelph, it was like Tuesdays is, let's see if I got it still. Oh my goodness. Tuesdays, I think is the East End. Wednesdays was the North End. Thursdays was the South End. Guelph people listening, let me know if I got that right. Um, but it was like you didn't have to like you announced it, you put it out, but it wasn't a big shock. You just put out your sign and you knew there's a group of at least like 30 agents that would be rolling through. My office, Royal LePage does it on Mondays. We have people can put their things on Caravan. Um, I I think it's important to get to know the inventory, to get to know your colleagues. I've struggled with it from the beginning because it wasn't like let's all go. I think I love that you did that where with the group. It was like this is what we do. And I think because it can be so lonely as a realtor, getting to know your colleagues in the inventory very important. Okay, so what would you say if you could go back and talk to yourself? Because you have a very cool, impressive story. We don't have time, guys, to go into how much of a rock star this man is. Like you have, okay, actually, before we get into what you would tell yourself, the two things. So you were like mini famous in the real estate community. Do you want to just share a little bit? Yes. Right. So like you had like a very cool like I remember you were telling me you did cool like seminars for people and your open houses were amazing. So what would you say like if you were going to toot your own horn because sometimes people don't want you to, I want you to toot away. Um because it's important to share the successes. What are a couple of things that you would say were the most lasting when you're looking back on your experience?
Um, there was I was blessed to be in the right place at the right time a number of times in my career. Um, I happened to meet up with some people. I was trying to buy airtime, commercial time on Q107, a radio station out of Toronto. And I went in and I knew nothing. I was just a neophyte. And they're like, do you realize it costs $6,000 just to create a script that takes 30 seconds to read? No,
No, I did not realize that.
I did not realize that. And then they said, and that's not even for the airtime. Like, then you got to buy the airtime. But we had a salesperson. It was myself and another gentleman. We had a company called Real Estate's Most Wanted, and the purpose of that was that I would help pick everything for it. It's like being a travel agent to real estate. So
Nice.
you're a homeowner. I come in, I do an intake. What do you need? What do you like? Do you want male, female, young, or new experience, really experienced, etc.
Nice.
And I built a holiday, a real estate package solution with all of the players, lawyers and home inspectors, et cetera, all around it.
Very cool.
And that's what the person selling the space said. This is a really cool thing that you have.
Yeah.
You certainly don't have the money to be in the arena to kind of advertise it, but I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to introduce you to one of the radio producers and he's going to interview you, and we're going to put you on the air, like before podcasts and Zoom and things like that. So we were hustled into an office. Some producer turned around, had a series of questions. We did an on-air thing. We were like, "That's it," and he's like, "Yep. Now just listen for it on the radio. It'll be on there." And I got invited back. One of the daytime hosts, a guy by the name of Bill Carroll, who was very well thought of at the time, heard the interview, and he's like, "Who is this guy?" And I got a call from his producer to come back in and do his show. So I did his show for several revisits
Very
at this
cool.
point, including helping him actually going through the whole process. He was splitting up with his wife and, needed to kind of move residences and needed the whole package. So we actually were able to give him the treatment. His producer was dating a producer from Cityline TV.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so yes, it started off with breakfast television with Ann Romer. I was on there a couple of times, and then the producer that brought me into City TV went to Cityline with Marilyn Dennis, and she brought me over from breakfast television, and then for 3 years I was their real estate SME subject matter expert with
Yeah.
Marilyn Dennis. At the same time, so I had that television celebrity thingy, and it was good because one of Marilyn's shows, and she was awesome. She was an amazing woman and incredibly generous, and gave me a lot of airtime and gave me a lot of credibility at that point. And So at that same time, I was writing articles for a magazine called New Home and Condos for Sale, and I wrote for that magazine for 6 years.
Nice.
And from there, I did things. I had a story on plastic houses, houses that were all made out of plastic.
Okay.
It's like today. And I got a byline. I means that at the new home section of the Toronto Sun, I was front page of that section. And for a guy that had to take, for a guy who had to take remedial grade 2 grammar and punctuation, I got a byline. There's people with journalism degrees that can't even get into the church bulletin,
Yeah.
right? And here's me on a national newspaper
So cool.
on television going from coast to coast because Marilyn's show ran 4 times a week at
Yep.
that point. So one episode traveled all over the country. So
So
my aunts, my old aunts and cousins were like, "We saw you on the TV." It's like, there we go. And again, this was all, the internet hadn't caught up. We didn't have
yeah.
video. There was no TikTok. This was early TikTok. And yeah, right place, right time, goofy guy with, some really cool information. And
So
and I really
I'm
enjoyed it.
actually gonna disagree with you. So yes, right place, right time. But I think that so when you're not sure, like because you went in without the experience and without the money, but you had passion, you had an idea. And I think the thing is, it is getting to the right place at the right time, but then knowing that you can like use that opportunity. So you're there, and obviously, like you have charisma, you obviously like were passionate, and it was person to person. So I would argue that not just anyone could have walked into that door and had those opportunities. So yes, you had to be there, but I think you had to be you too. Like,
Wow,
and that's
thank
a
you.
big deal.
Yeah, they taught me a lot. As much as, I was honored to be a guest. The first, like, Bill Carroll's producer, uh, Dan showed me a lot. He's like, if you want to do this, like, and he's like, we have other talk radio. So he sent me the producers. Here's when they're interviewing a guest, here are what they look for. Here's what I, as a
Nice.
producer, want to know from who you are. So if you're coming on my show, Krystal, right? What do you have? What do we know about you already? What do we
Yep.
need to know about your subject, etc.? And the key one that they had, there was a clause in here or a caveat that they put in that basically said, news you can use. What could you say on the show that somebody could actually mobilize with at the end of the episode?
That's yeah, we
News
do
you can
that.
use.
That's cool. I love that. And I love that it's the
Yeah,
real news does it. So that's cool. I love that.
yeah.
Okay. So that's that. Now you also had a really cool an open house strategy and it was a big deal. Do you want to
Yep.
share a little bit? I will say if you think you're crushing open houses, I would challenge you to listen to how Ron does open houses and see if you still think you're crushing it.
We, to me, and here's my secret sauce on this. I just stole all of my good ideas from new home sales.
Nice.
Right. When I would walk into a presentation center, I had sold and managed in the new home space in my career. So I've been the guy at the sales trailer that when you walk in, I had the big site board and the renderings on the wall and the packages that you loaded up and all of that stuff. And I taught that as well to people who worked for me doing that space. And when where it really came to light with my open house strategy was I moved into a city I didn't know anybody, right? I had no peers in my real estate world because nobody
Been
knew who I
there.
was.
Yep.
And well, yeah, absolutely. When you came from Guelph to London, who the hell's Krystal? They thought you just came out of, the college, like you were
Brand new.
new.
Yep.
Yeah. And what I did was like trying to get a toehold in a brand new city where nobody knows you. You don't really have brokerage support yet. I mean, they want to help you, but you're not one of their poster childhoods that they're kind of waving a flag for.
Yeah.
So I went around on weekends and I mystery shopped open houses. I wanted to see who was doing them, how they were done, etc. And as you know, it's an afterthought. In many cases, these are people that are brand new in the industry that are thrown into an open house at that point that they don't know what to do. Nobody's giving them any instruction. They're standing there with feature sheets. That's fine. Thank you for coming. Did you sign in? Thank you very much. Yes. They don't know what to say. They don't speak
Yep.
real estate ease. They don't have a patter.
Yep.
There's no, and then they kind of go, I never want to do it again because it was just a big waste of time. Nobody came, right? I tore my stocking putting out open house signs and they ripped up my car. Like there's a million reasons why nobody
Houses,
wants to do
houses.
anything.
Why would I do it anyway? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And so the outcome of my mystery shopping was realtors suck doing open houses. They don't want to do it. They don't want to be there, and it shows. So I'm like, how do I change that?
Yeah.
And it really, what started it, what the fuse for me was I was in a vacant house, terrible, like old home with it hadn't been updated in, decades, right down in sketchy Hamilton at this point. And it was like,
Right, Hamilton.
yeah, you're afraid of everybody coming in because you're like, are you coming in to see the open house or are you doing a drug buy? Like, I don't know what your motivation is. But while I was there in my briefcase, don't ask me why I had these stupid things, but I had an oversized sticky note. So it was like, like 3 by 5 or five
Okay.
by eight,
Okay.
right? And you peeled them off. So I had a big Sharpie, and there was two things. There was a garage in the back, standalone garage, that was like, is that going to fall over? It might. Don't touch it. Don't open the door. And it also had a big water tank, or excuse me, an oil tank downstairs that was going to be removed. Hopefully, was going to be removed. So I just made up little stickers. I stuck a sticker on the wall. If you were looking out the window at the garage that was all askew, it would said, you can replace this. You can replace it with a new garage as long as you keep the footprint. That's what I wrote.
Nice.
And then I said, this oil tank will be removed.
Nice.
And some guy came upstairs and he said, that's a good idea. And I'm like, the hell are you talking about? He said, oh, the note, you have a big pink sticky note on the tank down there that says, you're going to have it removed. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hmm. And I started and I went nuts. I started labeling the entire house. Every house, every listing I took, right? I had like 100 cards at this point. And I started that process with the fact that now I need to bring in the new home strategy because people don't know when they walk in. Does this come included? Do I get this? Does a hot tub stay? Right?
Yeah.
How big is the lot? And everybody has these questions, and most realtors don't know. Right? What are the taxes? I don't know. When was it built? Who was the builder? How old's the roof? How old's the furnace?
Stop peppering me with questions.
Yeah, I don't know. Krystal called me this morning. I just put on my suit and showed up. So I realized that if I wanted to, and I did a lot of open houses in my brokerage because, like I said, nobody knew me. I didn't have an inventory of, family that I could kind of get listings and stuff from. So I would do open houses for all of the realtors in my brokerage, right? I built a list of 200 agents and I said, I'll do any open house anytime, right? And I was stacking them. I would do two on a Saturday, two on a Sunday
Love it.
at this point. And the reason why is because as the market was shifting, they would sell. So I would have something set up, but
Yeah.
it would get sold. So they canceled the open house. So I always made sure I had two each day.
Wonderful.
And I even coined my website was Ron James at iloveopenhouses.com. Right. And I remember I had it embroidered on all of my clothes. So I had my real estate's most wanted logo and iloveopenhouses.com on the back of my shirt.
So
And
cool.
I remember an agent coming up going, tapping me on the back to feel his finger poking me. And he goes, I fucking hate open houses. And it's like,
Do your open houses.
right? And they think I'm new. They think I'm brand new out of a box at this point. They don't know by the time I'm at this brokerage in Hamilton, I'm
Yeah.
25 years in the business. And I said nothing, but I'll say it now. I love that all the other real estate agents hate open houses
Yeah.
because get out of my way, I'm coming.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do it, I'm not only going to do it good, I'm going to do it great.
Well, and what happens at a great open house? Clients leave, they feel good. If they don't have an agent, they want you. If they do have an agent, I mean, honestly, they might expect more from their agent, right?
Well, you've hit on two things. So, things I want to talk about. One of the open houses that I covered for a real estate agent, I bring a whole show. Like it looks like a trade show booth inside the house with my stuff. Even though it's Krystal's listing, it looks like the Ron James show.
Yeah.
And so the guy came in and he goes, do you do this for all your listings? I said, this isn't even my listing. You should see what I do when I'm in charge. Right. And the guy's like, okay, well, come see me because I want to list my house with you.
Nice.
Another home that I did, I'm talking to a friend of mine, and she said, oh, you came up in conversation at my chiropractic appointment this week. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, well, my chiropractor is trying to sell their house and they're trying to buy a house and stuff. And she knows you. I'm like, I don't, no, I don't. I don't know any chiropractors in Hamilton. She said she went through one of your open houses and you had your little signs up because they have your face on them and the whole bit. So she said you had them everywhere in the house. And so she's telling me the story she's working on me. And she's like, well, this realtor, he had these signs all over the place. So we really loved it. And I really wanted to go with him. But my husband's business partner just started dating this real estate chick. And so that's how we're stuck with her and blah, 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 blah. But I would have gone with that guy. And so my friend is lying on the bed and she goes, the guy's name isn't Ron James, is it? And she goes, yeah, Ron James. So a year after she had attended an open house,
Yes.
this like practically no cost. This is the best piece of advice I can give you. It's
Guys,
almost free.
take notes right now. This is a
Five
huge.
and a half by 8. And it just said, these rooms, and it's got measurements in 40-point font because if you got old eyes, nobody comes into an open house with their glasses. So if you're asking them to sign in on something, one of the reasons they hesitate is because they can't see.
Well,
So
yeah, and I mean, it depends. I don't like the sign-ins. I actually get everyone's info. I have a survey. And I find that really works for me. But it really, at the end of the day, guys, like the biggest thing, it just needs to be authentic. And I
yeah.
mean, to Ron's point earlier, when he would suggest things that didn't resonate with me, that's where the pushback would be. I remember we spent like a month arguing about a postcard he wanted me to send out because he wanted it to have yellow. And I was like, yellow's not in my color wheel. And so we finally did a thing and I made it like a fun contest in my farm area. But it's I'm sure every person that you've dealt with has been easier because you had to deal with me.
Well,
Um,
yes. Let's put it this way: the ones that were challenging definitely stand out. I just did a referral. We just closed it with a gal that I was coaching that's from Saskatchewan, Saskatoon.
yes.
And she's like, "Oh, I miss you, coach." And I'm like, "Well," I said, "I wish you were still around because my clients now don't let me yell at them." She said, "Yeah, you yelled at me."
That's
We
awesome.
had I'm like, Jesus Christ, why am I going to give you bad information? You've hired me to be on your team. I'm not going to try to work against you. I'm going
That
to
does
work
make
with
sense.
you.
That does sound logical. Okay. So, what would you say? So we only have a few minutes left. This has gone way too fast. But what would you say if you had a few pieces that people could take away with them today? And obviously, guys, if you we're going to give you Ron's information. If you would like to get coached with Ron, very, very, very highly recommend. Um, Coaching is an investment in your business. You have to just flip out of thinking it's spending money because no one has time to spend money on things that won't do anything. But investing in your business so that you end up making more money in your business is a huge, huge thing. And Ron's amazing. So Ron, how can we get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So freesalestalks.com. Freesalestalks.com. They get,
Freesalestalk.com. Okay.
yeah, absolutely. That gets you 30 minutes of me just for us to have a kind of get to meet you, kind of a first date, if you will.
Okay.
And then on the outset, if it looks like it works, my program is quite simple. I charge $99 for 30 minutes of a call. The best deal is the hour-long call at 150. There is no contract.
Okay.
If we're working together and it works for you and me, right?
Yeah.
And we can do either a weekly or bi-weekly. I find once a month is too far apart. Like
Right.
we get nothing really accomplished.
Right.
So I've kept it really, really simple. $99 for 30 minutes, 150 for an hour. Best value,
Great.
by the way.
That's a lot of value.
And the first part of it, freesalestalks.com, is just an email. You can go there. There's a form that says, "Hey, this is how you reach me,"
Love it.
and I will reach out, book a time with you, and we'll go through your favorite thing, your business.
Yes. Amazing. Amazing. Okay. So, what are the pieces of advice you'd give people to walk away with today?
The If I could go back and this was your number 6 question. If you could go back and change one thing, what would it be? When I first started in the real estate business, they didn't put enough emphasis on the CRM.
Okay.
They talked about having your family, your sphere as a CRM.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you guys, 100 people is maybe $20,000 in revenue. You're going to need 500 people,
Yeah.
right? If you can kind of get to your mindset right now, you're getting in day one, pull every Rolodex you've ever had, look at every association, every connection you've ever had, build the gold mine. That's your CRM.
Love
I actually was on a call 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about this one gentleman's, he uses Follow Up Boss as his CRM.
Okay.
He has 297,000 people on his database. 297,000, just under 300,000 people. Now, he's a realtor that does everything online. He's 9 to 5 a weekend. He has a bunch of underlings that go ahead and run around and take appointments and show houses and stuff like this. He just manages the database.
I feel like with
297,000
that
people.
number, you and I are probably in his database.
Well, just to give you a reference point, I live in Welland, right? It's 6 times the size of my city is just his CRM. So, am I recommending that you have 300,000 people on a database? No, of course I'm not. But I'm telling
Okay.
you, if you're kind of happy with like 100, let's get really happy with 500.
That,
Let's
yeah.
get better happy at 1,000. Guys, it is a numbers game, and you need the numbers in your database. Plus, you need a strategy on how to manage it and work it, and how to make that your gold mine, as I mentioned. So, I have techniques on how to do that. I have ideas where you can find people because the favorite thing I love hearing from people is I don't know anybody. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Like Scotiabank says, you're richer than you think. You know more people than you think.
I love that. Okay. And what's one other thing you would share?
Time management. I'm going to brag about you a little bit on this because you actually attended an event. We were at a conference and we
Oh,
did a
yes.
breakdown, and we broke some paper into 12 squares, etc. And you said to me, "I did your friggin' exercise," and I'm like, "Oh yeah," and you said, "I work 65 hours a week," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, I don't doubt it." And she said, "Try to guess how much time I'm client facing, like I'm actually doing real estate, belly to belly, helping clients, revenue generating activity." I'm like, well, half, like, if you're 65 hours, 32 hours, and you went 16 hours a week. And I'm like, is that good or bad? And you were like, what the hell am I doing? How am I, utilizing my time? I'm actually
Yeah.
wasting so much time doing shit that
Yeah.
isn't revenue producing, isn't client facing, isn't client helpful
Yeah.
at that point. And I tell people that story to remind them that there is a mechanism that allows you to have right that time that you want to work. If you could have doubled it and made it 32 hours of actual client facing revenue generating time, if you got rid of the other chaff, the stuff that was in your way that you had no choice but to do business with as well. So we have strategies on time management. It's the first thing that I really want to spend time with you, because if I teach you new stuff and you have no time in your day to do it, to
Yeah.
practice, to do the stuff we're doing, what's the point in me teaching you? So
It's
let's
so
get you
true.
on a
Yeah.
on
Get
a
on a
plan.
call with Ron. So freesalestalks.com.
Yep.
Now I would say, and again, we're gonna run out, so we're gonna quickly say this, but so that event, I did a time audit. And the time audit is it's like looking at Amazon at your like spending to date. Like you almost don't want to do it because you don't feel great after. Like you feel good, but you have to fix it. Um and so I was like I think there's like 184 hours in a week. And I believe that when I looked at everything I was doing, I was spending like 230 hours. And I was like, okay, so why am I stressed? But it's you have to do it. And then like and I ended up yeah, like learning to delegate and all these things you can talk about with Ron, but the key is we love this job. We're all crazy enough to do it all the time, but you also need to chill out sometimes. You need to have balance. And because I mean, we don't want the horrible B word to show up in our lives and our businesses, the burnout, right? Burnout will take you out of the game for a little longer than you want. So,
Yeah.
Ron, thank you so much. This has been amazing. Thank you. This is Guys, Ron James, real estate coaching, reach out to him, real freesalestalks.com, and he can help get your business in tip-top shape. We're in for a busy but bumpy year. So I think if you have your ducks in a row, you're going to be fine. And yeah, Ron, thank you so much. Definitely more
Yeah.
than 212.50 today.
Well, like I said, I've done a lot of podcasts. I'm blessed to kind of know a lot of the right people, but this has to have been my most enjoyable. This is
Yay.
graduation. This is like, being asked to come back and give a commencement at this point as a professor kind of thing. It's a huge honor. I'm very excited to be included today.
Oh, thank you, Ron. Well, you always have a special place in my heart and big recommend because you are just, your passion for this business is second to none. Thank you so much. And everyone, if you, yeah, reach out to Ron for sure. And I will see you all on our next episode. Bye.